Hi, this is Abraham Walker with Ask A Walker, your Northern Virginia real estate agent, and this is week 7, day 48 of What If Gary Keller Was My Coach. In this segment, we're covering our actuals and goals. We're going to go over our wins for the week, areas to improve. As the CEO of you, how did you do? Next week's plan, we're also going to go over takeaways from this past week. And we're going to end with what would Gary say about this week. Before we get into the actuals, I just kind of want to go over some of the database stuff that we've been working on. As you know, the first part of this process was to implement the Ignite training system into our business. We're using the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, right, paired with some of Gary Keller's other courses to state or to assume that all of the coursework that Keller Williams Realty has put together is essentially how Gary Keller would run a real estate business. And we're using Ask A Walker, which is my real estate sales business, as an experiment to run those systems and models through a business. And this video series is me actually like documenting that whole process, right? So from the beginning of the process to the end, how would you build a millionaire real estate business? Also, what if Gary Keller was my coach? Now, a part of that process is the database, right? So the size of your database determines the size of your business. That's what the Millionaire Real Estate Agent teaches us. So a lot of what we're doing is really database management, right? And really just being more purposeful with our database and how do we interact with the database, how do we put people into the database. So in Ignite, the requirements for Ignite are 10 new contacts a day, 10 new people added to your database, 10 thank you notes written a day, and previewing 10 properties every week, right? Well, in Ignite, the first 30 days of the program, or the first month of the program, you're supposed to put 200 people into your database. There's also a little footnote in Ignite that also says that in addition to the 200 people that you put into your database, you're also going to put your existing people that you already know, like in your contacts or maybe on social media, wherever you have contacts, you're also going to put those people into your database too. Now, I think that one of the challenges with some of the Keller Williams courses is that when they say add to database and Ignite, there really isn't like a clarification as far as what does add to the database means. So what I believe add to database means is that you're going to put this person into your 8x8 program and then move them to your 33 touch program, right? So that's what add to database means for me. Well, the 33 touch, the 8x8 program is already I guess it's a little bit of a challenger program to implement if you haven't done something systematically on a timely basis, because it really adds up over time and it can be overwhelming. It can become overwhelming. So my first month of doing the Ignite system was really just putting new contacts into my database and just kind of getting a feel for how we would actually process all of these new additions into the database. Now we're in month 2. Now we're looking at, since we've executed adding people properly, moving them into the 8x8 program, now we can focus, turn our attention to our existing database. In my CRM system, I had 1,100 individuals already, or 1,100 records already in my database program. So moving the 1,100 people into the 8x8 program would be very challenging. Also, some of those individuals are just not going to make it into the database, or they're not going to continue receiving our marketing campaign. So this month we wanted to devise a system to slowly introduce, or not slowly, but carefully introduce those individuals into the database, right? So I want to go over how we did that process, and then we'll go into the numbers for the week and the normal part of the program, right? So this is essentially the system that I set up for tracking my database additions, right? So we have the first contact type, right? So that's how my CRM is set up. I use contact types to classify the leads, and then that classification allows me to target those individuals if I wanted to either send out a large communication piece, a marketing piece to those individuals, or to just track how many people are in my database in a certain time period, right? So the first thing we have is our annual contact type, and so I'm just using my Coach GK because this started in August 1st, so that's not really a traditional year, and so we're just using this as a placeholder in the database system. Now we have a weekly key that we also use, which is really just a series of numbers and letters that says this week is, I know that the contacts that were entering this week have this name title, right? So for this week, our numbers, our letters and numbers that signify this week are B-W06-Y2018. And that just means that we're in, B stands for the second week. W06 is just the number of weeks that we are into the year. And then Y2008 is just the year itself, right? And so that helps me to classify the week. Now, the third thing, this is what we're really talking about right here. This is the prior database key. What we're doing now is we're moving, like I said, we have 1,100 people in our existing CRM, and we're going to move 100 people into the CRM every week. And what that means is everybody will get a phone call. If we don't have a phone call for those individuals, we will delete that individual from the database. We'll contact those individuals, and then we'll determine whether or not we have enough contact information for those individuals, or if they move out of the area, or what have you. And then we'll move those people into the 8x8. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, just ask me a question down below. Okay, so let's go into the actuals and goals. Contacts. So for the month of September, our goal is to do 200 contacts it's to do 400 contacts, to add 200 people to our database, write 200 thank you notes, and to preview 40 homes. So this week's actuals are, this week the numbers are, for contacts, we had 65 contacts, 100 was the goal. Right now we're at 159 for the month. For the number of people added to the database, 50 was the goal. We added 41 to the database. We're at a total of 90 for the month. We sent out 41 thank you notes for this past week. 50 was the goal. 90, we're at 90 for the month. And we have 10 homes preview. 10 was the goal. We're at 20 for the month. We had no appointments, no listing appointments, and no listings taken, both on the buyer and the seller side. And we also completed reading the MREA, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And now we're moving into, we completed the Ignite material. Now we're moving into the Lead Generation 3612-3 material. Let's talk about the numbers first, and then we'll talk about Lead Generation 3612-3. Okay, so my contact numbers are low. Last week I took 2 days off because I was feeling under the weather, and I really had a sore throat, so I really couldn't make phone calls. That's my primary means of making contacts. And I'm also doing cold calls, so it's more contacts in a session than traditional prospecting. So that's the reason why my numbers are a little bit lower. Not a little bit lower, but they're not the goal, right? So we didn't hit our goal. So we've already made adjustments for the following week as far as how many contacts we'll need to make, how many database additions we'll need to make, and thank you notes. I'm not really concerned about the database additions because this week is our first week of starting the adding people from our prior database into our system. So we're really going to have more people in our database than we traditionally put in there in a normal week. So that's not really a challenge or not really an issue. The number of contacts is an issue that we'll work on, and we with the contacts, I really want to focus on getting my contacts, the numbers I report, not the numbers I report, but I really want to focus on like the 100 contacts that I make per week. I want those to just be my cold call contacts. So that won't include any database follow up, that won't include any attending any open houses. We're not there yet, and that is the goal. I want to make my goal is to have 100 contacts of just cold prospects, so just new people that have never spoken to me before, and really I want a good bit of my database to be made up of those individuals, because that satisfy the feed your database on a daily basis criteria. So we talked about the numbers and the reason why the numbers are a little bit lower. This is also why it's important to do your 411 at the beginning of the month, right? So if you find yourself a little bit off in the week, you just have to make adjustments for the following week, right? So if your activities are lower in week 1, then that means you have week 2, 3, and 4 to make up those activities, right? And if your activities lower, or if you hit your activities in week 1 but they're low in week 2, so on and so forth, right? So that's why it's very important to get a big picture of your goals and your activities, so you don't feel depressed or like you're less than because you didn't hit these numbers, right? You have more time to hit the numbers, and so the goal now is to just make sure that we hit next week's numbers, because we don't want to have a fourth in week 4 to have an unrealistic number of contacts that we need to make to hit our goal, right? Okay, so now let's talk about the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. We finished that book, so now we're going to move into the Shift book. Shift is about 250 pages. We'll read 50 pages a week, so we'll complete Shift in 5 weeks. That's the goal, to complete Shift in 5 weeks. Our training material, I've looked over the lead generation 3612-3 material. We're not going to be able to go through it at the same speed that we went through Ignite, because honestly, the Ignite material has a framework for you to use, and it doesn't go into as much depth as the Lead Generation 3612-3. Lead Generation 3612-3 also has more assignments on the very front end of the program. So what we'll do is the first 4 or 5 sessions of Lead Generation 3612-3 are, I would say, the most important sessions of that training course. And we're going to take these next 4 or 5 weeks to go through each session per week, right? So this week, I'm going to knock out session 1 and report back. Next week, so on and so forth, for those first 4 or 5 sessions. Because after those sessions for Lead Generation 3612-3, they really go into the lead generation strategies, and those courses, not to say that they don't provide as much value, it's just that those are very specific to that lead generation style. So if you're not doing that particular type of lead generation, then the training material doesn't necessarily apply to you, but it does give you a framework of how to structure your lead generation program. Okay, so let's talk about the wins for the week. One win was we set up and executed our process for incorporating existing database individuals into our 8x8 and 30 search system, right? That right there. Another win was someone responded to my generic thank you card. So I have a generic thank you card template. You can find that template on my website. The link is in the description. It's just a basic thank you card. It goes thank you card script that goes along with my the script that I'm using for my phone calls. You can also find the script on the website. The link is in the description. So number 3, despite being despite being out of commission for 2 days, we still posted respectable dials for the time that we did have, right? So that was important. Even though I didn't really feel 100% on Thursday and Friday of last week, we still got some dials in, which was very important to kind of keep your momentum going, especially with prospecting, because it's very easy with prospecting to decide to do something else, because to be quite frank with you, most people do not, most real estate agents do not prospect, so it's very easy to try to judge yourself based on what other people are doing, and get yourself out of your rhythm, right? So it was very important that we maintain our prospecting even when it was a little bit more challenging for us. That was a win. Okay, so opportunities for improvement. So one of the things that I've noticed is that on let's see, we have a few projects that we're working on as far as like long-term projects that are lead generation focused, and those projects take a little bit more time out of my day to implement or to just kind of think about, whereas prospecting doesn't take that much time or energy, thinking energy, right? So what I'll focus on this week is actually hitting my contact goal earlier in the week to ensure I have time to work on my longer term projects, right? So like today, I think I hit like 24 contacts for today. Tomorrow, I'll try to get up to 40 or 50 contacts on tomorrow. So then by Thursday or Friday, I've already hit my 100 contacts for the week. Plus, I would have already made up my 21 contacts that I need to make up, that I'm adding on to this week to make sure that I can hit my 400 contacts for the week. Number two is knocking out my education on a daily basis versus big chunks. What I do right now is I don't read my books, or I don't complete my training materials until maybe like the fourth or fifth day of the week, right? So then I have like 2 to 3 days to complete, like 50 pages of reading plus 3 whatever else I'm processing as far as my education is concerned. So to help me kind of manage that information overload, I want to, my goal is to focus on hitting my education goals, half of my education goals, by the middle of the week, right? And so since this week starts on a Monday, by Wednesday or Thursday, I want to have half of my reading done and half of my educational component done as a part of my weekly activities. And number 3 is to start the process of developing a listing presentation for a competitive market. I noticed on my last listing presentation that the individual I was competing with is also an individual I've competed with on, I guess, maybe 3 or 4 times now, right? Which is kind of rare. And this is we're targeting a specific geographic area, so it's not too uncommon. So with that being said, I want to focus on developing a listing presentation that already incorporates some of the stuff from Ignite, some of the stuff from Bold, some of the stuff that I've heard from Ben Kinney, just because of this competitive market that I'm in locally, right? So if you're in a competitive market, and if everybody's using a similar listing presentation, regardless of your performance, your consumer is most likely going to have heard some of the stuff that you've said. So how do you differentiate yourself from the market? Well, you present them with something that's a little bit different. Okay, so as a CEO of you, how would you rate your performance for this past week? I would give myself a 2.5, just because I was out of commission for a while, and this is also one of those things that reminds me that it's very important to build a business versus just having individual real estate production. While having individual real estate production is a more profitable business than a team structure. In a individual performance business, if you are sick, then the business is closed, right? If you're out of town, then the business is closed, right? So last week really hit home for me as far as, I wasn't able to perform, so that means that no performance was done. If I had a business, set up, then that wouldn't necessarily be the case. Or if my lead generation was more leveraged through marketing, that also wouldn't be the case because my marketing would still go on without me. Okay, so what will I do differently next week? complete half my education by the middle of the week, and also by my book reading by Thursday. I want to hit my contact goal also by Thursday. Any notes? So one of the things we do is I'm calling through, I'm making cold calls into neighborhoods, right? So going through complete zip codes. So the zip code I'm in right now, I'm gonna finish tomorrow. I only have 15 records left. So it looks like I said, I should get through a normal size zip code anywhere from 6 to 8 business days. Well, a good majority of the people that I'm contacting, they are older. This is an older customer, older homeowner, and one of our touches was a refrigerator magnet that had a school calendar on it, and that touch doesn't really appeal to clients or customers or homeowners who don't have kids or their kids are now adult age, right? So last week we placed an order for a different type of refrigerator magnet, still a refrigerator magnet, that provided some type of home information. At the end of the year, we're going to switch to, we're not going to switch, we're going to add just a calendar to our touch campaign, and we're going to send that out. Also, we ordered updated thank you cards and thank you card envelopes, so now that'll cut down on the time that it takes to put the thank you cards together, because now we have our disclosures on the thank you cards. Also for the envelopes, those have our mailing address on the envelopes, so that just cuts down time and energy there. And also some business cards, got some business cards coming. Okay, so let's talk about the takeaways for this week. All right, so just completed the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, and my biggest takeaway is that the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book is actually incomplete blueprint without the Keller Williams course material, right? It's very easy to read this book and to kind of get like a higher level of thinking about how you would execute these ideas. And you would essentially need another course, to break down every piece of this book. Well, the great thing about being with Keller Williams is that we already have the courses that connect or tie closely into the book. So the book paired with the courses, it just makes a great value add for the Keller Williams system. And also it takes a lot of the thinking out of the how you would set it up, and now you can focus on the implementation process, right? Which is another takeaway. In the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, it says, find yourself a big plan, a big goal, a big model, and then once you find those items and you commit to doing those activities, your entire focus now has switched from finding something that works to implementing the thing that you believe works. So now you want to focus on implementation, and that's what we're doing. That's what this video series is about, is focusing on implementation. The last takeaway for this week was canned messages aren't canned to the individual that reads the message. Like I said, I have a canned thank you note. Someone responded to it positively. They were really impressed by the thank you note. It's a handwritten thank you note. Like the script for the thank you note is go to the link in the description. And this individual doesn't know that I sent that thank you note out to other individuals, so it was a one-to-one relationship for them. Now, to me, I know that it's not something special. To them, it is special. So even if you have a canned message, a canned marketing piece, a canned thank you note, that person on the other end is opening that message. They're receiving that message. No one else is there. It's just them. So it's personal. Okay, so what would Gary Keller say? What would he say about this past week? I don't think he would really respond positively or negatively. I think he would just say, keep moving forward, keep the activities going, and just keep pressing on, right? So that's it for me. I do want to shout out someone who reached out to me about my videos. They saw it on KW Connect, and that is Flora. So Flora, thanks so much for giving me the positive feedback about the videos. If you made it this far into the video, I would love to hear your feedback about the video, how I can make it better, or just what you think about it. So That's it for me, Abraham Walker with Ask A Walker, your Northern Virginia real estate agent, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.